The crisis consists precisely in the fact that the old is dying and the new cannot be born. In this interregnum, a great variety of morbid symptoms appear. The Italian philosopher Antonio Gramsci wrote those words from a prison cell in the 1930s, but he could have been describing our exact moment today. This idea, the idea of an interregnum, a volatile, uncertain gap between one historical era and the next, is the perfect thesis for our current global era. The old that is dying is the post-Cold War liberal international order. And for the past several videos, we've been diagnosing some of the morbid symptoms that have appeared in this gap. The populist backlash as an internal sickness rotting the West from within, the return of great power competition as the external challenger, disruptive new technologies breaking borders and creating new, unregulated forms of power, planetary and demographic pressures acting as the ultimate threat multipliers, and the rise of the rest, as the global South refuses to be a pawn and demands a new post-Western world. We have all the pieces now. The old order is gone, but the new hasn't been born. In this final video, we're going to put it all together. We're going to use these themes as our toolkit to explore the ultimate question: what comes next? We're going to explore 4 possible scenarios, but as we do, remember, these aren't predictions. Instead, they're analytical tools, thought experiments to help us organize the complex competing forces we've been discussing. The first scenario is a comeback story. We can call it the LIO resurgent. This is a future where the liberal international order, or LIO 2.0, is revitalized in the 21st century. In this world, the West regroups and reasserts its leadership. The shock of the new great power competition and the internal threat of populism serve as a wake-up call. The United States and the European Union respond by fixing their internal divides, reinvesting in their alliances, and successfully winning the tech race, setting the global standards for AI and cyber governance. At the same time, their rivals falter. Russia, bogged down in Ukraine, exhausts itself and declines into a failed state. China's state-led model proves to be a dead end, crippled by its demographic crisis and unable to innovate. This is the future where the liberal order proves itself far more resilient than originally thought. The end of history in this scenario wasn't wrong, it was just delayed. The second order is a return to something that looks a lot like the Cold War, a bipolar world divided between 2 regional blocs, one led by the United States and its democratic allies, and the other by China and its authoritarian partners. In this world, the great power competition becomes the only story that matters. All other global issues are pulled into its orbit, overshadowed by the strategic rivalry. The splinternet becomes a digital iron curtain with 2 separate, incompatible tech ecosystems. The global South stream of multi-alignment dies as countries are aggressively pressured to pick a side in a new bipolar system. Every trade deal, every climate conference, and every UN vote becomes a zero-sum battle for influence. This is the realist worldview made manifest. The third scenario is the messiest, but perhaps the most realistic, a multiplex world. This is a post-Western world with no single hegemon. In this future, great power competition between the US and China coexists with a rising non-Western world. The world becomes a multiplex, a term coined by Amitavacharya, like a cinema with many screens each showing a different story. Power is plural, narratives are diverse. The liberal international order doesn't disappear, but it gets demoted, becoming one option among many, alongside powerful regional blocs like the African Union and rising coalitions like the BRICS Plus. Multi-alignment becomes the standard diplomatic playbook for the majority of the world's states. In this world, technological competition isn't a single iron curtain, but a fragmented set of competing regional data blocks and governance rules. This is a victory for the global South, resulting in a truly multipolar system. Finally, there's the most pessimistic and most destabilizing scenario, the age of non-polarity. Coined by scholar Richard Haass, non-polarity refers to a world where power is so fragmented, so contested, so hollowed out that no single actor, no state, no bloc, no alliance can lead. In this dark future, the planetary pressures, climate change, pandemics, resource scarcity, spiral out of control. But instead of uniting, the great powers retreat. Populism and great power competition make global cooperation impossible, as states are too busy fighting with each other or their own citizens. Disruptive technologies like unregulated AI killer robots and constant cyber attacks add fuel to the fire, creating a world of permanent instability. In this future, power isn't held by one, two, or even many states. It's fragmented. It's held by tech billionaires, transnational criminal cartels, private mercenary groups, and extremist movements. It isn't a world order at all. It's a world disorder. So let's take a step back. Across these four scenarios, we've seen a wide range of possible futures. In the LIO Resurgent, the world coalesces back into a single unipolar rules-based system. In Cold War II, the world splits into two hostile bipolar blocks. In the multiplex world, power is multipolar, messy, and shared among regional blocks. And in the age of non-polarity, power is chaotic and fragmented, and no one is in charge. Each of these scenarios reflects a different set of theoretical assumptions about how the world works. Realism sees competition as inevitable, especially in Cold War 2.0. Liberalism envisions cooperation through institutions, holding out hope for a resurgent LIO. Global IR and constructivism remind us that norms, identities, and shared meanings shape not just how actors behave, but how they define security, legitimacy, and the order itself. And the age of nonpolarity is the ultimate tragedy of the commons, a warning that all of these theories of power politics will be meaningless if we fail to solve our shared existential planetary crisis. These scenarios are not forecasts, they're warning signs, thought experiments, and possibilities. The future is not predetermined. It's going to be shaped by our choices, by political leaders, by institutions, by movements, and yes, by people like you. So, as we leave this unit, I invite you to ask, which future do you find most likely? Which future do you most fear? And most importantly, which future are you working for? Thanks for joining me this semester. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you later.